Hey, it's Lando here at the Brick Mania Toy Works, where we are gearing up for World War Brick Minneapolis. So, World War Brick is a LEGO military builders convention where people come from all over the world to display their custom displays, their military mocks, their minifigures, all sorts of stuff. At every single World War Brick, there are so many awesome displays. I got a chance to sit down with Paul from California at World War Brick Anaheim for a close-up look at his really awesome tank factory, so check it out. I am here with Paul from California, correct?
That is correct.
All right, and you have an amazing display here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, this is a German maintenance facility. During World War II, they had centralized repair and maintenance facilities set up early in the war.
All right.
So generally there was one in France, one in Vienna, and there was one on the Russian front. They would gather their equipment that could not be serviced in the field, put it on trains and ship it back to the closest facility. At that point, they would maintenance the gear. They would do upgrades that may be available to the tanks, usually armament upgrades, and then put them back on trains and then send them back out to the field to be used. This process worked well to a certain point, but at some point in the war, they had a shortage of parts,
right,
and they had a gigantic backlog of repairs that needed to be done to equipment that had been damaged in the field.
Okay, cool. So you have all sorts of different models in here, different minifigures. Why don't you go through, I guess, this assembly line process?
So essentially, they would come off the trains, they would move them into the factories. This particular one is servicing Panzer IIs and Panzer IIIs. Sure. They had separate areas within the factory to handle different aspects of the repair. So they had a radio shop that handled dealing with the radio equipment that may need to be fixed. They had engine and transmission areas that worked on the engines and the transmissions. And then they also had an area where they could re-rifle barrels for the guns. And then of course they had tons and tons of spare parts in boxes that they would replace damaged gearing, put new tracks on tanks as they headed back out to the field.
Cool, cool. So where did you get the inspiration or source material for this project?
I was reading online one night. I'm very interested in kind of industrial type things.
Sure.
And I found a manual that was written in 1964, a kind of a post-World War II manual nice. That was written by an American general, I believe, kind of recapping Germany's ability to service and maintain their equipment during World War II. And I found it very interesting in terms of how they did this, what their shortfalls were, and I thought it would make an interesting scene for
That's awesome.
the people check out.
That's awesome. So what was the most difficult of this build?
Most difficult part?
Yep.
Well, I don't know. Getting the 2x2 gray light tiles in there. I had about 600 and I needed about 12. So, you know, everything else is kind of, I've done industrial buildings before, so I kind of had an idea in my head of how I was going to do it. Taking Brick Mania tanks and modifying them a little bit so they had engine compartments and made it look like, you know, there was places to drop turrets in place. That was a little bit of work to do versus the standard build on it, and that was about it.
Yeah, that's cool. So what would be your favorite part of this build here? My
favorite part is the view. When you look through the back doors and kind of view down the whole thing, it really gives you a three-dimensional concept of what was happening, the crowded areas, the work areas, how everybody was working to put these things back together and get them back out into the field to fight.
Yeah, it turned out amazing. I love how you had the roof removed for this.
Yeah, I went back and forth. I was going to put a half a roof on it,
sure,
and I decided, no, I'm just going to leave the whole thing open.
No,
I'll put a lot more light into it and people to be able to view. So.
Yeah. Speaking of lighting, any future plans for this? Maybe light it up, or?
We'll see. We may do that. I was thinking about possibly putting one of the lighting kits into it to light it up, but we'll see if I keep this or if I tear it down and go with something new for next year.
Right. Well, it's an amazing addition here for World War Brick, and we're really glad that you brought it. So thank you very much, Paul.
Well, thank you for having me.